Another violent incident involving carers under stress. The observatory will consider issuing the strong wind signal number 3 sometime between Friday night and Saturday morning. And Japan starts releasing another batch of treated radioactive wastewater from the Fukushima power plant into the ocean. Good evening. A woman and her 2 sons were stabbed in the abdomen in Wong Tai Sin today. The mother was arrested on suspicion of wounding with intent. It's believed she was under stress after her 2 sons with special education needs recently moved back home from hostels. Following the incident, the 53-year-old mother and her 20-year-old sons were taken to Queen Elizabeth Hospital. All 3 were conscious at the time. Police received a report from the father of the family at 8 a.m. today, saying his wife and sons suffered injuries to their abdomen. They all live at Lung Pun Court in Wong Tai Sin. According to initial police investigation, the mother is suspected of attacking her 2 sons with a knife before hurting herself. She was arrested on suspicion of wounding. Sources say the trio have 2 to 3 stab wounds each. The mother is a housewife who's suffering from depression while her sons are autistic. The boys used to go to a school for students with special education needs and live in a hostel. But now they no longer qualify for such services because of their age. They moved back home in July and had since been taken care of by their parents. On Wednesday, the father went home and found nothing unusual as the trio were asleep. The next morning, all 3 of them suffered injuries to their abdomen and the father called the police. It's believed the mother had earlier indicated she was under stress and wanted to commit suicide with her sons, and she sought help from social workers. There's no record of violence in the household, but the police earlier received reports of quarrels between the couple. Following the incident, Secretary for Labour and Welfare Chris Sun said the Social Welfare Department had extended the brother's stay in the hostel by 2 years in the past. He said authorities have been following up the case and will arrange the 2 brothers to stay in another daycare centre and dorm. The incident comes after several cases involving carers being unable to cope with stress or suffering from fatigue. That prompted the government to set up a 24-hour hotline to support carers with inquiries, referral and outreach services. Lawmakers say over 1,000 calls were received in the first 6 days since the hotline came into use. They've urged the government to provide more support for carers in the long run. The Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data has urged the public to beware of WhatsApp account hijacking. The reminder came after the office received data breach reports from 5 social welfare organizations and schools last month. The reports involved personal data of almost 900 people. Memo Sangai has more.
Social media apps have become an inseparable part of our lives. This also creates an opportunity for fraudsters to impersonate individuals and organizations. The Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data, or PCPD, said the WhatsApp account of 5 social welfare organizations and schools had been hijacked last month. The WhatsApp account hijacking often means scammers impersonating victims' friends and relatives. The scammers will then ask individuals to send their WhatsApp accounts verification codes. Some will also use fake WhatsApp websites to obtain victims' telephone numbers and the verification codes of their accounts. After getting hold of the accounts, scammers can then swindle victims out of money or personal data. Malware expert Anthony Lai said the fraud technique is not new, yet why did individuals still fall into the trap?
Maybe sometimes the victims think they have some problems with the application, and there's a support or technical support suddenly pops up and ask the questions and voluntarily to help them, they will feel happy a lot. In the reality, there's no such way. If they have proactively to give the support, they will try to another means, not through the WhatsApp.
Lai said once scammers have obtained a user's verification code, the consequences can be risky.
It means someone or the strangers can hijack or get hold of your WhatsApp account, and all the contact list will be also stolen.
The expert added individuals should phone or email software vendors if they have any doubt. Memos 9, TVB News.
The standby signal number 1 is now in force and will remain at least until noon on Friday. The observatory will consider issuing the strong wind signal number 3 sometime between Friday night and Saturday morning.
With Koinu gradually edging closer to the coast of eastern Guangdong, winds are expected to strengthen gradually over the region tomorrow afternoon. Under the influence of the northeast monsoon, Koinu will weaken slightly over the coastal waters of eastern Guangdong. However, it will edge closer to the vicinity of the Pearl River estuary gradually. The need for issuance of higher tropical cyclone warning signals depends on its intensity and also its distance from the Pearl River estuary.
According to the current forecast track, Koinu will maintain a distance of about 400 kilometers from Hong Kong tonight and tomorrow morning. The chance of strong winds prevailing over the territory is low. Heavy showers and cooler weather are expected on Sunday and Monday. Typhoon Koinu brushed past southern Taiwan today, killing at least 1 person, injuring 304, and causing localized damage. Koinu made landfall on Taiwan's Hengchun Peninsula with winds of up to 252 kilometers per hour. The heaviest rain fell in mountainous and sparsely populated parts of Pingtung County in the south and the east coast counties of Taitung and Hualien. The typhoon also affected the port city of Kaohsiung. Most cities and counties declared a day off, work and school, though Taipei was not affected and operating as normal. Taiwan's 2 main domestic airlines, UNI Air and Mandarin Airlines, cancelled most of their flights for Thursday. Dozens of international flights were also cancelled, but the high-speed rail connecting northern and southern Taiwan was not affected. Japan's wrecked Fukushima nuclear power plant said it began releasing a second batch of treated radioactive wastewater into the sea this morning. This comes with Russia considering whether to join China in imposing a ban on Japanese seafood imports for fear of radioactive contamination. Malaysia's foreign minister, however, said his country has no plans to do so. Daniel Rao reports.
Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant operator Tokyo Electric Power Company Holdings, or TEPCO, said workers activated a pump to dilute the treated wastewater with large amounts of seawater, slowly sending the mixture into the ocean through an underground tunnel. Some 7,800 tons of water will be released into the Pacific Ocean over a 17-day period, the same as the first round. Japan started the first round of contaminated water disposal on August 24th amid raging opposition among local fishermen and widespread concerns from neighbouring countries, including China, which subsequently banned the import of Japanese seafood products. The power plant has stored more than 1.3 million tons of radioactive water in massive tanks, which it has accumulated since the plant was crippled by a massive earthquake and tsunami in 2011. TEPCO said the discharge is planned to continue for more than 30 years. Elsewhere, Japan's agricultural minister, Ichiro Miyashita, arrived in Malaysia on Wednesday for a meeting with Southeast Asian agriculture ministers. Miyashita said Japan is undecided about whether to file a complaint about China's ban on Japanese aquatic products at the World Trade Organization immediately, but hopes to find a resolution within the body's framework. Malaysian Agriculture Minister Muhammad Sabu said Kuala Lumpur has no plans to restrict Japanese fishery imports. He said Malaysia conducts strict testing and so far has found no radioactive element on seafood imported from Japan. Meanwhile, Russia set up an independent monitoring committee in its Far East to monitor effects of the water discharged by Japan. Russian scientists have expressed grave concern about radioactive substances such as tritium in the water. Furthermore, the Russian Foreign Ministry said Japan has failed to provide full information about discharged water, despite repeated requests from both the Kremlin and China. Moscow is considering whether to impose a ban on Japanese seafood imports for fear of radioactive contamination. Daniel Rao, TV News.
The body of a Chinese woman killed in Tuesday's Bangkok shopping mall mass shooting has been claimed by her relatives. Another Chinese tourist who was injured and admitted to hospital is now out of critical condition. On Tuesday afternoon, a 14-year-old boy went on a shooting spree in a downtown shopping mall in the Thai capital, killing 2 women and injuring 5 others. Thai authorities say they will provide the families of the deceased with compensation of 200,000 baht each, or about 42,000 Hong Kong dollars. The teenage shooter has been charged with murder. 3 men have also been reportedly arrested on suspicion of selling a gun to the teenager. Still to come on tonight's news. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak plans to phase out smoking among young people by 2040. A 3-vehicle pileup in Chengsha. And a self-service kiosk at Admiralty MTR station for the public to report lost items. Welcome back. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has been outlining his plans for the country in a keynote speech at the Conservative Party conference in Manchester. He plans to change a major railway project, cut inflation and phase out smoking among young people by 2040. David Garrett has more.
Rishi Sunak's wife made the introductions.
Now it gives me the greatest pleasure to introduce you to a wonderful, wonderful father, my best friend and your Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak.
Portrayed as a family man, Sunak needs to convince voters he can lead Britain beyond the next general election, likely in around 12 months' time. He painted a picture of a brighter future.
Thank you, Akshata, for that introduction, and thank you for always being there for me, my wife. Truly the best long-term decision for a brighter future I ever made.
Once the jokes were over, it was down to business. The packed hall in Manchester listened as he confirmed he's scrapping a high-speed rail line from Birmingham to Manchester.
I am cancelling the rest of the HS2 project. And in its place, we will reinvest every single penny, £36 billion, in hundreds of new transport projects in the North and the Midlands across the country.
The project has already cost more than it was supposed to and suffered delays. Next, he spoke about the economy. Many in the party think tax cuts are the best way to convince voters to back his Conservative Party.
I know you want tax cuts. I want them too, and we will deliver them. But the best tax cut we can give people right now is to halve inflation and ease the cost of living.
Applauded by senior cabinet members, Sunak referenced arguably the most famous Tory Prime Minister of them all.
Inflation is the biggest destroyer of all, of industry, of jobs, of savings and of society. No policy which puts at risk the defeat of inflation, no matter its short-term attraction, can be right. Not my words, but those of Margaret Thatcher, as true now as they were then.
Sunak laid out plans to effectively ban smoking for the next generation. He said it costs the country £17 billion a year in healthcare and must be stopped.
In future, we raise the smoking age by 1 year every year. That means a 14-year-old today will never legally be sold a cigarette, and that they and their generation can grow up smoke-free.
Sunak and his wife left the room to a standing ovation. He came to power as new party leader 12 months ago after a turbulent year for the Tories. The Prime Minister has not faced a vote by the country. The electorate will determine whether he can bring about the changes he spoke about. David Garrett, TVB News.
The Nobel Prize in Literature was announced just minutes ago in Stockholm, Sweden. The Swedish Academy named Norwegian author Jon Fosse as the 2023 winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature for his innovative plays and prose which give voice to the unsayable. Mats Malm, permanent secretary of the Swedish Academy, announced the prize winner in Stockholm. The 64-year-old author's first work, Red Black, was published in 1983. The Nobel Prizes carry a cash award of 11 million Swedish kroner from a bequest left by their creator, Swedish inventor Alfred Nobel. Winners also receive an 18-karat gold medal and diploma at the award ceremonies in December. In Cuba, 2 firefighters died when they were trying to rescue families from a building that had partially collapsed. As they were working, more of the structure caved in. Another person died, taking the number of dead to 3. Officers were already on the scene and people were filming on their phones when more of the building fell apart, creating a cloud of dust. As the sun came up, rescue workers continued to search for survivors. There were around 50 people inside when the building started to crumble. Because the block partially collapsed at first, it appears it gave most of the residents the time to get out safely. Back locally, police have arrested 6 more men in connection with the cryptocurrency platform JPEX, bringing the total number of arrests to 26. An operator and a former board member of a crypto over-the-counter shop, CryptoPod, are among those newly arrested. Officers carried out investigations at the shop today. The other 4 people newly arrested are staff members of 2 other crypto over-the-counter shops. A 3-car accident happened in Chengsha 1 at noon today. At least 4 people were injured. The 3-car accident happened when a white electric car collided with this truck. The truck in turn crashed into a homeware shop. Goods were scattered over the place. The white car also crashed into the back of a second truck. After the collision, the homeware shop remains open for business. Police arrested the 64-year-old car driver on suspicion of dangerous driving. The public can now report lost items at a self-service kiosk at the MTR Admiralty station. With this self-service machine in place, residents do not always have to drop by a police station when they report lost property. Under the new information sharing system between police and the MTR, the chance of people regaining their belongings would be greater than before. The police also said the system is secure and individuals must give consent before passing their data to the MTR. More self-service kiosks will be set up in other MTR stations, including Taiwan. That's the news. Thanks for watching.